Hello again, and it's time for another project. Today we're going to do a little scroll saw project, a little piece of this Peaky Blinders character. We're going to route all the black sections out, basically leaving the white sections, and then we're going to stick that onto a backer, and hopefully once it's painted and all stuck down, this little project will be done. Now I've printed out the image. Just take your time with scroll saw work to make sure you haven't got any bits floating about. Obviously we can see there's two here that aren't connected. It's hard to see. I've actually joined them up with pencil, so when I cut it out I'll probably come around that and join them up, or you could cut them out as separate pieces and stick them onto your backer board afterwards. Also up here I wasn't comfortable with that gap. That would leave that whole section there just attached by that little piece here, and that doesn't matter. You could disconnect that completely and have a separate piece and stick that to your backer. I'm just trying to keep it all connected as much as I can, so I extend that bit there so that will make contact with the side of the jacket with his waistcoat. And also up here there's a section missing at the top here somewhere. I just there, I actually connected that up, and I've made that slightly thicker there and this slightly thicker there. Today I'm going to be using 5.5mm hardwood plywood. I've never used this before, I must admit, but I've literally just cut this out on a big 4 foot by 2 foot piece, and it seems to cut okay, and the sides look fine. There's a bit of knobblies on the end here, but we'll soon sand that off with a little bit of sandpaper. So this is the first for me again. We'll see how we go on with this. So that will be for our white section. Once we've cut it all out, remember it'll be on this plywood. And once that's done, then we'll stick it to same kind of hardwood plywood, but it will be 12mm thick. We'll show you that once we've cut this out and painted it or stained it or whatever we think we're going to do as the project progresses. Now for these kind of projects, normally I use carbon paper, and you could use it on this one if you're quite happy to draw that out there. But for scroll saw projects, I like to use painter's tape. We will literally line all that with the tape, and then we use some kind of spray glue, spray that on there quickly, and then we will stick that to the wood so it's nice and smooth. Once we've done that, we need to drill what they call pilot holes, because obviously sections like inside the mouth, the chin, that big section there, there's one there, inside the pocket area, we need to get a blade inside that so we can cut that piece out. So you drill what they call a pilot hole, drill all the way through, and that's enough so you can feed your blade through, attach it back on your scroll saw, literally cut that black section out, take the blade out again, and move on to the next section, and so on and so on. So once it's all stuck down, pilot holes, drill, keep going around. You'll probably miss one, but you can always come back and drill it again. And once that's done, it's a case of picking the blade for you. Now there's 3 types of blade. You get the basic pin blade. This comes with your more cheaper common saws. That's just attaches at the top and the bottom into a hook-like device like so. You want the blade to be smooth on the way down, and you want to feel rough on the way up and have the blade facing towards you. That way you know you've got the blade in correctly. Now you will get so much of this with this little pin blade, but there are certain areas, if I just move that round, you might have that little section there like so. You will struggle to get a pin blade in there because obviously the pins are going to catch on the side of the hole, little small ones like that. So yes, you could cut out the outer areas, the larger sections, but these smaller sections you might just not get in because pins are in the way. So they came out with pinless blades, obviously, really small. Most of these scroll saw folk use all these. Same again, teeth towards you, smooth on the way down and rough on the way up. These are fantastic. They're obviously ideal size because once you've drilled your pilot hole, they're going to fit in that little hole, no problem, because obviously there's no pins to get in the way. They're more popular on your more fancier saws, and literally has like a locking clamp at top and bottom that holds it in place. Now for me personally, and these are a love or hate relationship with these kind of blades, they are a spiral blade, and the teeth are spiraled the full length of the blade from top to bottom, But there again, same again, you want the smooth on the way down, rough on the way up. Obviously it doesn't matter front or back, because there isn't a front and back. The teeth go the full length, spiraled. These are ideal for your bigger projects where you will struggle to turn the wood. But for me, I just prefer these. I struggle with a straight blade. It's a personal thing, so obviously find one that suits you. And for my old-fashioned draper scroll saw, unfortunately I need these adapter clamps, and they go on top and bottom, a little Allen key, tighten it up, and that basically makes your hook to fasten on to your scroll saw. They're a little pain sometimes, and if you're doing a project that's got 600 holes, you know you've had enough when you start swapping that over and over again. But you make do with what you got. Okay, so we'll stick all this down, drill our pilot holes, and then we'll start cutting this out with a Pegas number 5 spiral blade. Right, we've got our tape on, we put our glue on, we've stuck the template down, and we've glued the pilot holes just to feed our blades in. Now they look rough and ready. Personally myself, the bigger you can make that hole, the easier it is to feed the blade in, especially with those adapter clamps of mine. Obviously you can go as small as you want with that, as long as it's big enough to fit your blade through. So some are a little bit tighter. There's one there, I've missed one out. We'll sort that out as the project goes on. You'll always find you miss one out somewhere. So we've drilled our pilot holes. Remember, they're just so we can feed the blade through and cut out that section there and so on. So we're ready to put it on the scroll saw now. So we'll pop it on. We'll pop in our Pegas number 5 spiral blade. It might be a bit high for this project, but I use number 5 on all mine from 2-inch woods down to 3mm. And as this is 5.5 ply, we'll do for us. And just quickly scuff off all your back pieces like so. That's all it needs. That'll just help you run smoothly on your table. And if you're not happy with these pieces, you can also just cut those off just as quick, but they don't bother me personally. Right, let's pop this on the scroll saw and we'll start cutting this one out. Right, we've got it all set up on the scroll saw. You can just see those brackets here, top, and there's one that goes underneath at the bottom. Now when you do your blade, that's far too loose, is that? Every machine is different. If I can just get round without knocking this camera, like so. Some have levers at the top, some have screws at the top. Mine's a little lever at the back here. If I just turn that around just to show you, just down there, I have a lever here, and you basically just keep turning that until you get the different sound. You can just hear that altering. You want a nice G sound, as we call it, and that way you know you've got enough tension on your blade. But like I do say, I have to use those brackets, adapter clamps. So you imagine when we've done this little section here, we'll cut out to show you. I've got to get the Allen key, remove the tension, get the Allen key, take this off, slide that out, slide it into another roll, put the clamp back on again, hook it back on there, take up the tension, ping ping, and we're on to the next hole. It's slow process, but we're in no rush, we just take our time. Okay, we're set up, let's start cutting this one out. Right, we've made it all the way round with the Pegas 5 spiral blade. You notice there we stuck bits of tape on. It's quite fragile, is this piece, and it's only held together in certain places. There and so on. So as you're cutting round, just put bits of tape on, just keep it all in place, because you'll try to turn this on your table and this at piece or one of them will be hanging down and you'll catch it and you'll break it off. So bits of tape, it's a delicate operation. We'll just slowly remove all these like so, and you can see basically what we've been cutting out. So nice and steady, don't get too carried away at this stage, start going a bit crazy. That piece can come out. I think this should all come out in one go, and you can see the shape we've got there. So it's the first time I've cut this plywood 5.5mm. I must say it's cut really well. You will find on the back of the piece you'll get what I call these little nodule things, and they'll come off simple like that, a bit of sandpaper, or you can get small files and just go inside and just give it a general tidy up. Obviously not on this piece, this is a scrap piece now. So there's our main cut. We can lift it up without anything breaking off. That's the most delicate point, that section there, look. But once it's all stuck to a backer, we shouldn't have too much difficulty. And you can see from the back there, there's all our little nodules again. So we'll go around nice and gently, put this on a flat surface like so, and just give it all a general tidy up, clean up. I'll pull that tape off the front. It says hopefully, and it should all still be intact. So that's the reason why I put the painter's tape on, because when you come to peel it off, like so, it should all come off in the actual strips that you put it on. Then we get the general idea from there, like so. I'll continue, peel all this paper off, give it a general tidy up, and then we'll be on to cutting a backer on and deciding if we're going to paint it or stain it. I'll continue, just remove all this. Right, that's enough sanding down and general tidying up for me. Just a bit of sandpaper, just to smooth it down and get rid of those little knobblies on the back, as we said before. And that's it, just go steady away. We're still in one piece, so it's looking good so far. Now I need to make a backer for this just before we start putting our paint or stain on. And the idea for me, I want it to fit perfect down that straight edge there, straight along the bottom, and the straight edge down the side. So we're going to go to the 12mm plywood, remember? This is 5.5, and I'm basically just lining it up so it touches the sides and the bottom. You could have it in the centre of that and have a board around it, put a frame on, whatever. I'm just going to cut this off so it's flush with the rest of the project. So it's just a simple case of lining it up like so, nothing fantastic. Line the bottom up, so in there like that. That's near enough what I need, and it's just a simple case of drawing a straight line across that way and across that way, and that will give us the nice size fitting backer. Just struggled to get this one in my little workshop. It's only 4 foot by 2 foot, this piece of plywood, but it's so tight in here. So I'll just go off and cut this, nothing fantastic. We'll cut this, smooth it off, and then we'll be on to the next stage where we're going to decide what kind of paints or stains we're going to use. I'll cut this and come back in a minute. Right, that's our backer cut out. We didn't miss anything, just a simple case of marking it off. I cut it out on a scroll saw and just sanded it down nicely so it's a nice shape, and took all the edges off. You can see from there we've got no voids, no holes or anything. So for plywood, that's come out pretty smooth, so we're quite happy with that. And that's our overall shape, roughly about 16.5 inches by 12 inches across. And hopefully that's enough just for our little project to sit on there like so. And then we'll just make it all flush along the bottom, bring it over slightly into this corner. We'll turn that one around a little bit, and that's it. So that all fits near enough what we want when we come to glue it down. And that will be the basic project once it's completed. Now for colouring wise, we're going to use some stain on this one. I was going to paint it all black at the back and white for the figure itself, so it stands out really well. But on my previous projects, I'm using a lot of wood dyes. Just wood dyes. That's a light teak, and that one's a dark teak. And the idea is we put the darker teak on the back and the light teak on the front, and we'll see how it ends up. If it's not so clever, hopefully we'll leave the dark teak on the back and we'll paint this white. The reason I don't want to paint it or spray it, there's just too many nuts and crannies to get in and sort out. So we're going to go for the wood dyes on this one. So it's a simple case of dark teak for the back and the light teak for the man himself, and we'll see what it looks like. Right, that's all our backer nicely dried with that dark teak. Remember, we did all the sides, and then I also did the back on this one. So that's all nicely dry now. And obviously we did the figure itself with the light teak. That's also gone on nicely. So far so good, and everything is still intact. So it's just going to be a simple case of lining everything up like so. I'm going to pop a bit of glue on the back and glue that down as it is. I've used resin in the past, just brushed on a bit of resin. I suppose you can use wood glue. There's all different types out there. I'm going to use Gorilla Glue. This is the first for me. Never used this stuff before, but hopefully it'll do the job fine. So it will be just a simple case of turning that over. We'll dab our glue on and all the little points that we need, like so. Flick it back over and stick it down nice and solid, hopefully. And then we just spray on some nice yacht varnish. Any varnish will do, just to spray it off and gives it a nice shine. Right, I'll glue it all down, spray it all up, and hopefully we're heading towards the finishing line. Right, that's it. This little project is finished. So you can see from that, it's glued down nicely, nice and solid. We've got a nice shine there with that spray varnish that we put on. Compared with the back, you see how dull that is. And we've got a little hanger there, just so we can hang it on the wall, no problem. And that's it. This little project is finished. So it's 17 inches by 12 inches. We used a Pegas number 5 spiral blade to cut out the 5.5mm hardwood plywood with a Pegas number 5 spiral blade, like I've just said, for the character, and then 12mm plywood for the backer. We stuck it all together with Gorilla Glue. After we applied the dark teak for the backer, the light teak would dye for the main man himself. Then I started spraying with just some yacht varnish, just a nice little shine. We run out of that, so I finished with some polyurethane varnish. All the same stuff to me, it doesn't really matter. And that's it. This little project is finished. Thank you very much for watching.